Hello, how are you? There is a substance that our own body produces, which can help fight insulin resistance and fat in the liver. Today, I'm going to tell you what this substance is, how you can increase your production of it, or even supplement it. You're going to love it, so stay until the end because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask you if you've ever had any kind of problem with insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, hepatic steatosis, liver problems. I would love to see your comments so I can help you even more. Write to me about the problems you have or have had so I can make more videos like this for you. If you can, go ahead and like the video because that's your way of giving back for all the research and dedication I put into this channel. And if you know someone who could benefit, someone who has these health conditions and needs more information on how to improve naturally, share this video. Let's expand our chain of kindness. This substance, which our own body produces, can help with such important issues as fatty liver, insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and that's glutathione. It's a molecule made up of 3 amino acids, glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. But this complicated name doesn't matter, right? What matters is its function. It acts as a protection system inside our cells, especially in liver cells. Every time our body produces energy or metabolizes energy or processes alcohol, medication, or even toxins, it will generate waste products. We know this, right? The liver is the organ most responsible for this cleansing function in our body. It's like our own self-cleaning organ. These waste products, which are generated by the liver as it processes and neutralizes harmful substances in the body, are called free radicals. And unfortunately, they can accumulate in our bodies. When free radicals are present in large quantities, they can damage cells because they are, simply put, unstable structures. They have a radical that is free and looking to bind to something. Some other cell, some structure, and when it binds to that structure, it will damage that cell or structure. So, when we talk about neutralizing free radicals, we're actually talking about a type of substance that can come in and neutralize that radical by donating itself in a sort of sacrificial way. And that's where glutathione comes in, because that's exactly what it does, right? It has this ability to bind to that unstable molecule, which is the free radical that would cause damage in our body. In this way, the radical stops being an unstable structure, stops attacking other structures, and this chain reaction that harms our body is interrupted. We know that our body is very wise. It has strategies to keep us well, alive, and functioning in the best way possible. So yes, glutathione has this aspect of sacrificing itself, as I mentioned to you. It gives itself up to improve this system, and our body has an enzyme that helps regenerate it into its active form. So it's like a cycle. We use glutathione, the body recycles it, cleans it, and then it's used again. So the problem isn't when we have free radicals. The problem is when our body's defense system can't keep up because you're producing too many free radicals. This regeneration system can't handle the amount of free radicals you have in your body. And that's what often happens when you have fatty liver and insulin resistance. So let's talk more about that. What happens is that when the liver becomes fatty, when it accumulates more fat than it should, this steatosis mainly starts due to excess calories, excess refined carbohydrates, glucose, white bread, white pasta, insulin spikes, and the insulin resistance that occurs. So this ends up causing the liver to accumulate fat inside its cells, the hepatocytes. So, up to this point, this has nothing to do with glutathione. We know that the problem comes later when what we call lipotoxicity begins to occur. In other words, that fat doesn't just stay there, it undergoes oxidation. And it generates free radicals, which greatly increases oxidative stress inside the liver. So, glutathione would come into play in a system that would neutralize these free radicals as I explained to you. It protects the cell membrane and protects the mitochondria. In other words, it slows down the damage that is happening as fat accumulates inside our liver. To help you understand a little better how important glutathione is for the liver and for insulin resistance, I'll explain what can happen when our levels are low in the body. Our liver can lose its ability to protect itself, and then several things can happen. First, more damage to the mitochondria. The mitochondria start to function worse, so we produce less energy, burn less fat, and the result is an even greater accumulation of fat in the liver. That's one point. Second, more inflammation because the radicals activate pro-inflammatory cytokines in our body, and this turns a fatty but otherwise normal, inactive liver into a fatty and inflamed liver, which can cause steatohepatitis, a complication of fat in the liver. Third, we can have increased lipid peroxidation, where the accumulated fat starts to break down, turning into toxic compounds and further damaging the cells. So here's a summary for us to understand. There's the accumulated fat, right? The buildup of this fat in the liver, which increases free radicals. You already understand that. Then glutathione tries to protect, but it can't because there are too many free radicals for it to handle, so it gets depleted. You lose protection, which causes more damage, more inflammation, more fat. In other words, it's a vicious cycle. We don't even know what started first, the chicken or the egg. So it's not that low glutathione will cause fatty liver. But when it's low, it makes it easier for this fat accumulation in the liver to progress. And of course, this problem gets worse. It's good for us to understand what actually consumes more glutathione, so we can try to control that too, right? And preserve the glutathione that we already produce. So in practice, excess fat in the liver. Because with more fat, there's more oxidation, and there will be a greater demand for your glutathione. That's point one. Second is alcohol. So the metabolism of alcohol consumes a lot of glutathione daily. So if you want to preserve your glutathione, reducing alcohol intake is essential, especially if you already have any liver-related issues. Third is that low-grade chronic inflammation because it increases the production of free radicals in our body on its own. Fourth, and many people often don't realize this, is sleep deprivation. The body loses efficiency in its natural antioxidant regeneration, right? It loses this optimized function. So sleeping well is essential. And fifth, constant caloric excess. This always puts a heavy load on your liver and also uses up more glutathione. So try to regulate this to spare your glutathione. Let's talk about how to try to produce more glutathione in our bodies, because this is the practical part we need to talk about. The body does produce glutathione, yes, but it needs raw materials for you to be able to optimize this. So the first thing is cysteine, which is a limiting amino acid. If we don't have a sufficient amount, production can decrease. Glycine, which is also important for the structure of the molecule. And selenium, which is necessary for the enzyme that recycles glutathione in our body. So basically, sources of protein. Eggs, meat, whey protein, these can be good sources for you to add to your daily routine and always spread out throughout the day, not just at lunch or dinner. Breakfast, afternoon snack, bedtime snack. You need to have a little bit of good protein throughout your day, all day long to help with your glutathione production. Second, foods rich in sulfur will also help, such as broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. They activate pathways that stimulate the production of natural antioxidant enzymes in our bodies. So this is a very important point. Foods naturally rich in selenium, such as Brazil nuts, for example, are an excellent source that can help you with the reconversion of glutathione into its most active form. Physical exercise, especially aerobic exercise, improves mitochondrial function and reduces the production of free radicals, thereby decreasing our body's need for defense. Once again, sleep is important. I already mentioned that poor sleep is a risk factor, so improving your sleep is crucial because during sleep we have a rebalancing of this antioxidant system and a reduction in inflammation. Reducing alcohol consumption is essential. So the less alcohol you drink, the less glutathione your body uses to compensate for it, and the more protection your liver has. Besides, we know that alcohol is harmful, it is toxic to the liver on its own. And controlling visceral fat is the most important thing of all, right? When we have a lot of accumulation in this central visceral abdominal region, the risk of accumulating fat in the liver is very high. So controlling abdominal fat is essential. Now, about supplementation, because you might be thinking, if glutathione is that important, maybe it's better for me to just take a glutathione supplement instead of worrying so much about diet, sleep, alcohol, and so on, right? Is it really better to just buy a supplement and take it? It's not like that. In theory, it would be good, but in practice, that's not how it works. First, because our body has trouble absorbing this molecule, glutathione is a large molecule, and when we ingest it orally, it goes through the digestive system and has to be broken down before it can be absorbed. So for a long time, we believed that oral glutathione couldn't really be optimized in terms of supplementation. Of course, nowadays there is liposomal glutathione, which may offer better absorption, but even so, the response varies greatly from person to person, and it's not a 100% guaranteed solution. Just because you take it doesn't mean you'll see results. So it's better not to count on that. What the body actually prefers is not to receive glutathione in its final form, but rather its precursor. The body was made to produce glutathione internally, and if that doesn't happen, it's not by chance. As I told you, it needs the raw materials, cysteine, glycine, and glutamate. So if any of these are lacking, it ends up being more limiting, it causes problems, and that's why I talked so much about foods with you. Now, what can work for many people is the right precursor, which is N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. I've even made some videos talking more about it, as it's a strategy that's increasingly being supported, right? Backed by scientific evidence. And this compound, it's not glutathione itself, but it provides exactly what's missing for the body to produce it, which is cysteine, right? The N-acetylcysteine. So think of it this way. If glutathione were a recipe, N-acetylcysteine would be one of the main ingredients for the body to make it because it contains cysteine. So it may be a good option to help increase your body's production and conversion of glutathione, supporting your natural antioxidant defenses. And studies are increasingly showing that doses around 600 milligrams per day of N-acetylcysteine help raise glutathione levels and improve inflammatory markers such as blood glucose itself by reducing inflammation. This is not going to replace everything I mentioned to you, like diet, lifestyle, alcohol, because if your liver is still overloaded with all of that, there's no point in taking N-acetylcysteine. Always remember that it's not a free pass for you to live an unbalanced, undisciplined life, but it can be an addition, right? Something extra that can help you with this conversion, so you can produce glutathione more effectively in your body. So when can this supplementation with N-acetylcysteine be effective for you? You are probably someone who suffers from more oxidative stress, meaning you already have some pre-existing metabolic disease. Or you might be an older person who already has more difficulty dealing with so many free radicals due to antioxidant issues. Or someone who is more exposed to toxins, depending on the type of work you do, for example. But always remember that it is a supplement, not the foundation. The foundation has to be your lifestyle and your diet. If you're unsure whether you should use N-acetylcysteine or not, how much to use, if you have some problem, if you can use it, how much should you use? Always talk to a professional who knows you personally, your specific case, there in your city, your doctor, your nutritionist, to guide you personally, okay? Remember that this video is here to help you better understand how this works in a purely illustrative way, so you can have a broader understanding of it and discuss it with your professional there in your city. So remember to leave your like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you want me to bring more ideas like this to help you better manage liver fat, insulin resistance. If you like this topic, like the video so I know you enjoyed it. Share it with someone you know will like it. And let me know if you've ever used N-acetylcysteine or if you haven't. I'd love to see your comment. See you next time. Bye.